Hey there, today I'm going to show you how to draw Mega Charizard Y. So let's start with the eyes. I'm going to start with the characters standing straight with the character's head pointing that way and have two wings pointing upwards. So let's start with the eye. I'm going to start with the top so you can only see one side of the head. Starting at the front, I'm going to curve towards the back. From here I'm going to draw a straight line across the bottom from the front coming backwards. And here in the front I'm just going to draw a little tiny oval for the pupil. And outside of here, I'm going to draw a curve for the outside of the eyeball, and then back here, just the edge of the eye, little curve. From the front, I'm just going to curve up over the eye, just for the brow line. Let's move over to the forehead. So the forehead comes sloping quite steep this way. So I'm going to start at the front of the nose, and I'm going to come up at an angle. So curving up above the eyes like this. And from here, I'm just going to curve back. So you can see there's a sharp sort of turn here. Let's go back to the front and draw the front of the nose. So from this point, we're going to curve up towards the tip of the nose. And then from here, we're going to curve down. So we've got a point here. And we're going to come down towards the bottom edge of the mouth. So it comes backwards. From here, we're going to go up along the edge of the mouth. So from here, we'll curve up towards the eye. And then we're going to bend this down. And we're going to curve up to the edge of the mouth, just curving straight up beside the eye on the side there. From here, let's draw the nostril. So we're going to draw the top of the nostril first. So from right here, we're just going to draw a curve coming across. And then right in here, I'm just going to draw a little line. Start with the bottom of the chin. So back here, actually I'm going to draw the fanging first. So up here, underneath this lip, I'm going to draw sort of elongated V shape. Down here, I'm going to curve the bottom of the chin. And from here, we're going to curve around the jaw. So curving down. And then from here, we're going to curve all the way up. So from here, let's curve up along the side of the jaw. And then we're going to curve this in and connect to that point. I'm actually going to make this mouth a little bit longer. We're going to curve straight into that side of the mouth. Okay, so we've got the front of the face. Let's get up to the thorns on the top of the head. And there's one big one in the middle and then two smaller ones on the side. So from the side profile, you're going to see the front edge of the main horn. So a big long line like this. And we're going to pull this back just a little bit in the opposite direction. So curving under this way. We're going to overlap a small horn on top. So we're going to go back here and curve out like this. I'm just going to close off that gap. And then we're going to pull this line back into the side of the head. From here we're going to draw in the neck coming down to the tops of the shoulders. So the body curves down like this. The body will be down to about here. I want the shoulders to be quite high up. So from here, I'm going to start under this jaw. I'm going to draw a curve coming towards one shoulder. And then across here, I'm going to draw a curve going down to the opposite shoulder. So I want to try to make it to the same height. So back here, I'm just going to do a little overlap over that horn. And just come down. So you see that I'm getting a little bit wider as I get down to the base of the shoulders. From here, let's draw in the thing that's on top first. So we always draw things on top before we draw the things in the background. So here, in this case, would be the arm. Arm coming down across to the elbow. But there's this little fin that comes out of the elbow. So we're going to have to draw that as well before we get into the rest of the arm. So from this point, let's draw the top of the shoulder. We're going to draw an angle line. We're going to come down with a curve to right about here. Now, we're going to have to work our way in the under part of the arm first before we get into the fin. So here, I'm going to start right about the elbow joint and just curve the armpit like this. From here, I'm going to do an overlap and draw a curve down to the fingertips. So now I know where the arm is located. So the forearm comes this way up to the upper arm. I'm going to have to draw that fin right here. So I'm going to do an overlap here. So over this back of the arm here, I'm going to draw a curve going up. So this is overlapping the arm. From here, I'm going to do a curve to the tip of that fin. So I'm going to make it pretty long. So up to about here, curve down and come up to a point. So it's like a big swooping curve. From here, I just want to pull this line down. Just going to continue that down like that. From this point, I'm going to curve the edge of that fin. I'm going to come in the opposite direction, curving out like this. Now, from this point, this is actually going to act sort of like my elbow, coming towards the tip of the fingers. So from here, I'm going to curve again like this. So you got a big wide gap here, just wide enough for 3 claws. So from this point, I'm going to curve up. I'm going to do an overlap and come down. And here I'm going to go up. I'm going to do another overlap and then come down. And then now I'm just going to close off this gap for that third finger. Above these fingers, I'm going to draw the separation between the claw and the actual finger itself. So here, I'm just going to draw a curve like this, draw another curve like that, and then one more here. All right, so now let's get back to the arm on this side. We're going to draw, pretty much take this and flip it over. From the shoulder, we're just going to curve down for the top of the shoulder. From here, I'm going to curve down towards the elbow. Now from here, I'm going to have to sort of make a break. So there's a hand I'm going to draw up to about here, but there's a break here because I have to draw a fin on the opposite side. So from here, I'm just going to curve down towards where the wrist would be. Now I'm going to overlap in the back of the fin. So let's do an overlap here and curve up toward that point. So I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. It's just easier to pull my pen towards me. From here, I'm going to do a curve just like I did here, but flipped over. So from this point, and curve up. This. Again, like I did on this side, I'm just going to draw the inner part of the fin. So I'm just going to pull a line down like this. Back up to the top, I'm going to curve down to sort of the fin joint, like this. From here, I'm going to curve in. Okay, so this is sort of like this, coming down. Over here, I'm going to do an overlap again. So from here, I'm going to come down to the finger. Now from there, I'm just going to pull one of the claws out. I'm going to do an overlapping line, coming across, and then pull that back up. I'm going to do another overlap, coming down. Now this is going to come in towards the body. So now I'm going to imagine this neckline coming down and continuing down towards the body. So I'm going to imagine the body coming like this. So up about here, I'm just going to draw a little bit of the arm. So I'm just going to pull a line up like that, just so I can finish off the tips of the fingers. So again, I'm just going to draw those little curves for the claws. And I'll come back to finishing off that arm after I've drawn on the body. So the body's going to come down this way with the tail swooping around behind. So I'm going to draw the bottom of the belly here. So I'm going to have to draw the front of the belly here. So I'm going to leave it an open gap here for the arm. But I'm going to continue this neckline right about here. So I'm just going to pull this down and curve towards the belly. So now with this arm, I'm just going to pull this line all the way in behind the body, like so. Okay, so now we got that. Let's draw in the back. So this line coming down the back, imagine it coming down to about here and just curving behind that arm. Now from this point, I'm going to draw in the back of the thigh. So this leg is going to come around here. So imagine this back, continuing on here, come around, let's draw a curve like this. Okay, so it's coming down around the same height as the belly here. Now I'm going to overlap the front of the thigh here. So it's going to be a curve coming up like this. So starting at the top, I'm going to curve past that line and down. So I'm just going to close off the gap here. And from this knee, I just want to pull up a little line like that, coming up at an angle towards the back of the knee there. Up here, I'm just going to draw a little line like that for the kneecap. Now we can draw in the rest of the foot. So up here, I'm just going to do an overlap, coming up, come out in an angle. This foot's going to come down this way, about this far. So from here, I'm going to curve the bottom of the foot. From here, let's draw some toes. So from here, I'm going to curve to the front, and then just curve to the top. From this point, I'm going to connect to that point in the ball of the foot there. So there's one claw there. Let's do an overlap. I'm going to do another curve. And I'm going to do exactly like I did over here. Just curve up to the top, and then tuck this in behind that nail. We'll do this one more time. So one nail, curving up, and then tucking that in behind. Now from here, I just want to take that point at the top of that nail and curve it underneath this kneecap, just like that. Okay, so we got that. Let's get into the back leg here. So this leg's going to get tucked in behind the body. I want the knee a little bit higher because he's sort of standing in perspective. Okay, so knee, I'm going to draw the knee up here. The thigh is going to start pretty much at the same height. So right about here, I'm going to curve down to the knee. From here, I'm just going to curve the bottom of the leg here. And we're going to imagine this line continuing on just for the back of the knee here. It's pulling a line. I'm going to leave a little gap open here. Let's draw on the foot. So the foot is going to be tucked in behind the body, coming down with a curve like this. So you see there's a gap between the thigh and the bottom of the foot. From here, I'm going to curve to the toes, sort of like I did here. I'm going to curve up the first nail, and we're going to curve this down to the bottom of the foot. And we do a series of overlaps, just like we did here. Go to the front of the next toe, go up, and tuck that in. Start back up here, go straight out, curve up, and then we'll tuck that in. And then from the top of this nail, we're just going to tuck this in with a curve underneath that knee. Okay, so we got the legs. Let's draw in some body lines. So there's a color separation between the belly and the rest of the body. So right up here, just above the shoulder, there's the line that comes around and ends off sort of around here. So I'm going to start up here, curve around this arm, and then behind this arm, or this hand here, I'm going to continue that line and tuck that into that thigh. From here, on this side, it's going to start right from this jaw and kind of vanish off just behind this belly here by the arms. Starting up here, I'm going to start to curve and just kind of let it vanish in behind that body there. So it sort of looks like the body's twisted, like this. Alright, from here, we're going to draw on the tail. So the tail's going to swing around, and the bottom of the tail actually matches up with the bottom of the belly. Kind of comes around, we're going to bring it up here to the flame. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this line, this curve. Imagine it going behind that leg and starting right there. Okay, so I'm going to take this point, just going to curve, and just tuck this in behind that wing. Now we're going to have to draw on the top of the tail. So the tail actually gets thinner as it gets to the tip. So from up here, the body comes like this. So I'm going to have to start the back of the tail here. And what there is a big sort of a claw that kind of sticks out from the tail. So from here, I'm going to do an angled line going up. From here, I'm just going to curve down. And then this, I'm just going to swing this line around. So this is the top of the tail, just curving around like that. Okay. From here, we're going to draw on some belly details. So from here, I'm going to imagine this curve continuing and then tucking underneath the tail. So coming up kind of like that. So it almost looks like a continuation of a line going along here. Now, as the tail comes to the back, the tail's going to turn. So you can actually see this little bottom color detail on the back of this tail here. So we're going to start that from here, curve around, behind that spike, then behind the body like that. This tail is going to continue and go up to a point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the spikes. There's some little tail spikes along the top. So I'm going to start the tail, it comes down like this, to one spike. So curving up, and I'm going to curve this back so it looks like a big spike. I'm going to do an overlap. So I'm going to come up about here, do another curve up, and then pull that back. I'm going to do one more. So just right about here, you see the spikes are getting a little bit smaller as they go. Draw a little tiny spike there. And then from here, I'm just going to turn that line up to the tip of the tail. And this is going to curve and get a little bit thicker as it gets towards the back. So I'm going to start down here and then just taper to a point. Now with that same belly detail, I'm going to do a little bit over here. So I'm just going to curve and just taper that underneath like so. From here, let's draw in, I was going to draw in the flame first, but I think I'm going to draw the flame behind the wings. So the wings are going to be folded around like this. I'll draw the flame in behind just to make sure I have enough room for the wings. So for this, I'm going to have them joined at the shoulders here, curving up and then turning this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the outer edge of the wing first. So up here, I'm going to start up here. So up above the head, I'm just going to draw a curve like this. I'm going to round out this edge and then come down to a bottom point. So I'm going to bring the wing down to about here. I'll do a curve down like that. From the top of this wing, I'm going to round it out a little bit and just bring it in like so. From the bottom, I'm not going to round it out. I'm just going to draw a hard turn, so it's a big spike down here. I'm going to do a little overlap because the wing sort of gets folded on itself. So right about here, I'm going to draw another curve like this. Up here, I'm going to pull another point down. And from this point, I'm just going to go into that side of that top wing. Just like so. Okay, so it kind of looks like this is going to be folding around this way. Up here, I'm going to draw the inside part of the wing coming into the shoulder. But I'm going to do this in parts. So up here, you're going to imagine this wing coming down like this. There'll be a hard turn right about here. And then from here, I'm just going to bulge out into the shoulder area. Let's trace this line on the inside so it looks like a big, thick sort of bone holding this wing together. So up here, I'm just going to trace that wing behind there, coming in, and I'm just going to kind of taper that out like that. Now we want to draw the inside part of the wing as it folds around this way. So I'm going to start up here, going up, and then down. And you can make it look all torn up if you want to. You can do some wiggly lines, curving down like this, and pulling that up behind that fin, and then up behind that arm. Let's take that exact same wing and draw it on this side here. So we're going to start with that inner edge first. So I'm going to start that up here. I'm going to draw a curve coming down. So coming down to that point, I'm going to round out that tip, and I'm going to bring this all the way down to the tip of the bottom of the wing. Right down like that. From the top, I'm going to round this out and just bring a point down like this. And from the bottom, I'm going to make it sharp, up like so. Again, up here, I'm just going to draw a wrinkle. So a curve just down here, a little overlap coming up. Down here, I'm going to draw a little line coming down to another point. And this is going to connect all the way up to the side of this wing here. So I'm just going to start from the top and pull down this way, because it's always easier to draw long lines straighter when you pull towards your body rather than away from yourself. So from here, we're going to draw the inner part of the wing. Starting up here, I'm going to draw a curve like this. I'm going to come in with a hard line behind that fin, continue just a little bit here, and just bulge out the end going into the shoulder. And again, I'm just going to trace that inner part like so. Now we want to draw the inner part of the wing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right where this area is, and then go up. And I'm going to wobble that line just a little bit, just to make it look like it's torn up. And I'm just going to curve this underneath that, behind that arm there. Final part is the flame on the tail. So I'm going to do a very simple flame. Starting at the base of the tail, I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to draw a couple waves like that. Okay, so it's almost like a backwards S. From this point, I'm just going to come down. Here I'm going to continue all the way up like this. And then curving this down like this and turning it up on the end. Coming down again and up. So you see I'm just kind of coming around and flicking the end up like that. From here I'm just going to bring that right into the tail there. Final part, let's draw on some shoulder collarbone. Up in here, I'm just going to draw one line coming in, one on the other side as well. And that's pretty much it. There we have it. There's Mega Charizard Y. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please give us a like. Make sure you check out our Pokemon playlist. I have a ton of characters in there. I'll be adding more every Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.